Hello, Fox Fairy, where I talk about marginalized subjects from a marginalized viewpoint, while I learn to draw. Hello! Welcome to my series, Discourse Academy, where I break down LGBT discourse and put it in a nice little gift box for you. Today, I'm continuing my sub-series of Discourse Academy, where I break down all of the exclusionist sub-communities. When I finish them, I might do breakdowns of the inclusionist sub-communities, although I haven't been able to learn very much about them with the research that I've done. Now, today I will be covering the Battle Axe bisexual community, and after that I will be covering the True Scum or the Transmed community as their distinct communities, and then the Nunchuck non-binary community, and then after those I will do either the intersex or ace exclusionist community. Furthermore, I would like to state that I am monosexual, so take everything I say here with a grain of salt. I am simply presenting the arguments in the way that a Battle Axe bisexual would. Alright, now, let's get into the video. What is a Battle Axe bisexual? A Battle Axe bisexual is a bisexual exclusionist who believes that bisexual is an all-encompassing label for all non-monosexual attraction, and that labels like pansexual, polysexual, omnisexual, abrosexual, homo and hetero, flexible, and so on, are negative labels. Now, what do Battle Axe bisexuals genuinely believe? 1. Bisexual is encompassing of all non-monosexual, non-asexual attraction. Any gender that is attracted to more than one gender is bisexual. 2. NBin and trans people are inherently included in bisexuality, and trans people are included in all sexualities, regardless. 3. Labels like pansexual and other M-spec labels are harmful to the bisexual label. 4. You cannot be both monosexual and bisexual. The moment you stop being monosexual, you are completely bisexual. Bisexual is its own exclusive identity, separate from others. Why do Battle Axe bisexuals believe what they believe? The number one biggest reason is the Bisexual Manifesto clearly outlines bisexuality as not binary and completely flexible, meaning that any non-monosexual identity is bisexual. Battle Axe bisexuals in particular really respect and understand the Bisexual Manifesto as one of the most important documents outlining what it means to be a bisexual. It's one of the first documents that really wrote down everything that bisexuals at the time really wanted to clear up. 2. Labels like pansexual erase bisexuals by outweighing them in the media. In most online posts talking about bisexuality, there will be a comment underneath saying same but pansexual, to the point where conversation online about pansexuality is actually more common than conversation about bisexuality and their issues. Normally, people talk about pansexual before they talk about bisexual because it's this big new label. Also, it's seen as more politically correct by some. 3. Labels like pansexual spread misinformation about bisexual attraction. People who are pansexual, polysexual, or omnisexual justify their identity by saying one of the following lines. Bisexuality only includes two genders. Bisexuality means you have a preference, or bisexuality does not include non-binary or trans people. However, these are all misinformation about what it means to be bisexual. Labels like pansexual saying I'm attracted to all genders implies that bisexuals can't be attracted to all genders with no preference, which is what they have been saying for a very long time. Labels like polysexual make the assumption that bisexuals are only attracted to two genders, and a lot of polysexual identifying people make that sort of claim. And labels like omnisexual make the assumption that bisexual does not include NBin, but it does. And bisexuals have been very clear about that, and omnisexuals have been perpetuating that sort of mentality. Though it is important for me to say that not all people who identify as pansexual, polysexual, or omnisexual, or even abrosexual are identifying this way to spread misinformation or spread these ideals. They just do, and those ideals are spread, though there are a large base of people who do perpetuate those beliefs and do spread this kind of misinformation. There are even some who believe that bisexuality is problematic because they believe that it doesn't include non-binary people, despite what Battle Axe bisexuals have been saying. 4. Labels like pansexual saturate the identity knowledge base and complicate things for our straight allies. There are only so many words you can expect people to remember, and unless you have a hyperfixation for discourse like I do, you wouldn't be able to remember all of the labels that people use. It'd be hard to break it down. Labels like pansexual make it too convoluted and too difficult for straight people to understand, or even LGBT people who are just trying to understand their own community. If it falls under bisexual, then it shouldn't be outlined as an entirely different identity. Maybe a subset of bisexuality that's easier for someone to get into later when they're ready to learn more about sub-identities, but as a completely different identity, it oversaturates the identity space, and it makes things much harder for straight people to learn, especially when they should be learning about non-binary identities like trixictoric, feminameric, or birameric, because these are things that they need to understand, that non-binary people exist, and non-binary people's attraction exists as well, and should be outlined in a specific way to make everyone feel the most comfortable. What is the history of the Battle Axe bisexual community? The term originates on the Instagram page at Fox Flight Studios, an inclusionist who made the term and posted a bunch of pins with Battle Axe bisexual on it, just as a general fun pride thing. However, exclusionists really liked this term and claimed it for themselves, claiming that they are a Battle Axe bisexual, not necessarily that this pin was meant to outline them as a Battle Axe bisexual, but definitely to allow themselves to identify with something and have a symbol. The main flag, I have no clue who made it. This one with the emblem, or this one without the emblem. I was unable to find it in my research, and I searched hard because, of course, as you know, the LGBT wiki is not going to link all of the sources to the images. They're just going to post them. They're not going to do research. They just want to, outline things that people should avoid, or people that inclusionists should dox when they find us on the internet. But this one, with the more colors, was made by Discourse Soda, the person who also made this longsword lesbian flag and this gravity knife gay flag, which I have shown for you on my previous 2 videos on the subjects. They also like to reference the Bisexual Manifesto, which I will read for you right now. The Bisexual Manifesto, magazine, Anything That Moves, 1990. Bisexuality is a whole, fluid identity. Do not assume that it is binary or duogamous in nature, that we must have 2 sides, or that we must be involved simultaneously with both genders to be fulfilled as human beings. In fact, don't assume that there are only 2 genders at all. Do not mistake our fluidity as confusion, irresponsibility, or an inability to commit. Do not conflate promiscuity, infidelity, or unsafe sexual behavior with bisexuality. Those are human traits that cross all orientations. Nothing should be assumed about anyone's sexuality, including your own. We are angered by those who refuse to accept our existence, our issues, our contributions, and our alliances or voices. It is time for the bisexual voice to be heard. Do not expect each magazine to represent all bisexuals, for our diversity is too vast. Do not expect a clear-cut definition to jump out from the pages. We bisexuals tend to define bisexuality in a way that is unique to our own individuality. There are many definitions of bisexuality, as there are bisexuals. Many of us choose to not label ourselves as anything at all, and find the word bisexual to be inadequate and limiting. Do not assume that the opinions expressed are shared by all bisexuals. Now, I would like to outline that they do say that bisexual has no clear-cut definition, though in the beginning, they do tell you what bisexual is not. It is not binary, and it is fluid, meaning that we do not need entirely new labels to identify your bisexuality. Even if those labels are true and valid, they are bisexual in nature. Now, let's play a fun game. I'm going to put up a bunch of MSpec label flags on the screen, and I'm going to bring up quotes. Until all of these flags on screen are eliminated, I will continue bringing up quotes from this manifesto. My first quote: "Do not assume that it is binary or duogamous in nature. Goodbye pansexual. Goodbye polysexual. Goodbye omnisexual. Do not assume that we must be simultaneously involved with both genders. Goodbye homo and heteroflexible. Bisexual is a whole, fluid identity. Goodbye abrosexual." See how easy that is just by taking an older, pre-internet understanding of what it means to be bisexual? Things that were already recorded and understood and outlined for us. And it wasn't even written by bad people or TERFs or anything, because these people outline non-binary identities as a part of the human gender spectrum. How do battle axe bisexuals relate to other discourse communities with their beliefs? The longsword lesbian and gravity knife gay communities relate to battle axe bisexuals because they believe that monosexuality and bisexuality are separate. However, longsword lesbians and gravity knife gays may disagree with battle axe bisexuals because a battle axe bisexual might, but does not inherently, believe that non-binary people are included in all sexual orientations. However, this is not the vast majority of battle axe bisexual opinions, as us exclusionists have had to stick together and adopt some of each other's principles in order to coexist in a way that's meaningful. Nunchuck non-binaries and battle axe bisexuals tend to agree that non-binary people are valid and that they are an explicit different gender that is outside of the gender binary, one that having an attraction to can change your sexual orientation. What are some examples of erasure that battle axe bisexuals do not like today? 1. Pansexual has a higher presence online than bisexual. Chances are, if you're looking at a flag sale, the flags that they're going to have are the rainbow flag, the lesbian flag, the bisexual flag, and the pansexual flag. Sometimes they don't even include the bisexual flag. Pansexual flags are included in more merch, more sales, more buyouts, more everything. Every bisexual post is flooded with pansexuals trying to appropriate that sort of experience. When bisexuals talk about their feelings, there's always a pansexual identified person in the comments or stitching or doing something with it to make it so it's about themselves. Bisexuals don't have a chance to speak without them being silenced or without it being made about some other identity. Not only this, but there aren't many bisexuals online who speak about their identities as much as there are pansexuals online speaking about their identities, which is a little messed up considering bisexuality has been outlined as not binary and completely fluid for a very long time, before the internet actually existed. For 2, the whole political correctness ideology regarding bisexuality not being politically correct because of the false assumption that it doesn't include trans people or non-binary people. There is a small community of people online who believe that the label bisexual in itself is NB-phobic or panphobic. Now, let's keep in mind that panphobia is the name for the psychological fear of everything, not the bigotry or oppression of someone who is pansexual. Moving on. This is very harmful considering the label bisexuality outdates the label pansexuality. And pansexuality has its roots in Sigmund Freud's ideology about how all people are inherently attracted to everything, or the idea that someone can be attracted to all things, including animals and children, which is just not okay. We shouldn't be pushing that sort of mindset. Even then, people want to make this seem like a label that is more politically correct than bisexuality, considering the fact that people have been using it to outline their identities for literal decades. Misinformation. People online like to spread the misinformation that bisexuality is a strictly binary identity, or an identity that is outlined by whether or not someone has a preference. However, we see with the Bisexual Manifesto and many upset bisexual people who do not like this redefining of their terms, that it is clearly not such. Bisexuality is anything that isn't monosexual, but with the pansexual and polysexual and omnisexual and abrosexual crowd, these identities make so many insinuations about bisexuality, outlining themselves as completely unique identities, that it leaves battle axe bisexuals feeling as if they have no voice, because everyone believes that, well, bisexuality is a strictly binary identity that doesn't include trans people, and if it does include trans and non-binary people, then they have to have a preference. No one on the internet is going to settle on a single understanding of what it means to be bisexual that doesn't make some bisexual feel as if they aren't included in the label that they've been identifying with for decades. What are the roots of the pansexual label? Pansexual finds its roots in the attraction to everything. Everything. Including objects, animals, children, your parents. Oftentimes, ideas like this come from Freudian psychology because he was a man who believed that all young boys are attracted to their mothers, and things like that. These concepts are inherently not great. It wasn't until very recently, after the internet's creation, that it was starting to be used as a genuine identity label. So keep that in mind when you assess pansexual identities, or before you make a decision regarding your sexual identity label, that this is pansexual's roots. What's my take on the whole subject? Bisexuals experience a specific kind of erasure in the media that hasn't been experienced before. It's important for us to extend our empathy towards bisexuals who feel as if their identity is suddenly being misrepresented. We need to listen to bisexuals who believe that their identity is being erased. We need to understand how they feel and understand their needs. If there are bisexuals who believe that they are being erased, we must make accommodations to make them not. Not by telling them that they are wrong, but by making a more safe and accepting environment towards these bisexuals. It's the same way that a lot of exclusionists feel, feeling that my identity is not being properly observed in the media, or my identity is being misinformed everywhere, and that I feel excluded from my own identity because of these inclusionist mindsets. That's all I have for today. My dog is being a little bit whiny. I'm gonna see you later, and I just want you to know, I love you. Bye.